Yo, what is going on, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 gameplay video. Hey, in this video we're going to be talking about the potential return of the Trials of Osiris in Destiny 2 and whether or not the game is actually ready for that type of endgame PvP activity. But before we dive into the meat of that discussion, right now, just out of curiosity, I want you to go to the comments section and type what you would take with you if Trials went live right now. What would you take with you into your first Trials of Osiris passage of Destiny 2? What would your loadout be? What would your subclass be? What exotic armor would you use? I think for me, I think I would take my top tree Dawnblade for obvious reasons. I just love it. I'd probably be rocking Starfire Protocol for that extra heat rising action. My weapons would be Lonesome, Omniscient Eye, and the Deathbringer. That's sort of my favorite way to play the game right now. That's where I have the most fun. So tell me in the comment section what your loadout would be, and we can sort of compare a little bit, right? Also, just as a heads up, if you're watching this video within the first 5 hours of it going live, then I'm live streaming right now, and I'd love to meet you. So just click on the link in the description or go to truevanguard.com, and you'll show up right on my streams. Come say hello from YouTube, and I'll tell you that you're a beautiful soul, I promise. All right, Trials of Osiris. Is Destiny 2 ready for Trials? You know, I've actually seen a lot of comments. I mean, even from people that I respect, swirling around on Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, where people are arguing that the sandbox that we find ourselves in right now is a joke, and we don't want Trials to come back until it's settled and more refined. And I think that's a fair thing to say. I think that's fair criticism. But I also want to keep in mind before we're going forward. Keep in mind that Bungie Community Manager DMG he's already confirmed that we're looking at a sandbox update before the next season actually is playable. So on top of that, they've also noted that things like high impact fusion rifles and Lord of Wolves are topics of discussion among the sandbox designers. So we've got some of the biggest villains in the Crucible on the chopping block already, trying to defend themselves right now. So I think it's safe to assume that some of the things that we hate the most are going to be the victims of some nerfs and some adjustments before Trials of Osiris is ever going to be a playable experience in Destiny 2. I think our landscape will change before then. And of course, we don't know if Trials is coming back next week. When we finish this fractaling donation process, we don't know if it's coming back next week or if it's coming back a month from now, 2 months from now. I don't know. I couldn't tell you definitively. They've done everything except come out and say it. I mean, they've told us without telling us. There's so many hints that they're dropping. They're like, "Whoa, hello," you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty unmistakable that it's like right on the horizon, or else they wouldn't be teasing it this hard. Now, with that in mind, how do we feel about Trials coming back potentially at the beginning of the next season? Here's where I stand on that. Trials has existed before, during seasons defined by god-awful metas. I mean, let's think back. We're talking camping with scories to generate super energy, right? Teams would go into a Trials match, they'd find a corner of the map, and they would huddle up, and they would camp in there, all tightly bundled up with scories artifacts on, generating super energy. And they wouldn't come out. They wouldn't come out until they had supers. They could run out with 3 supers, come kill you with supers, and then at the beginning of the next round, they would rinse and repeat. They'd go right back to their corner, they would huddle up, and generate super energy. We're talking Thorn Firebolt days, where Viking Funeral meant that you didn't actually need to do anything but shoot somebody in the body once with a hand cannon and throw a grenade for every engagement in order to win. We've seen Trials be a constant during rotating seasons of good and bad metas, and Trials endured all of it. And there's a couple main reasons why I think that it did. First, Trials had a regularly updated loot grind. These weren't just reskinned items. They were often designed exclusively and specifically for Trials, and many of them were PvP weapons that were pretty good in PvP. You know what I'm saying? Remember Doctrine of Passing? On top of that, we had unique armor sets to grind for. We had adaptive versions of weapons to pursue, and the armor could roll with high stat values to maximize the potential output of your gear and build. I mean, you could get rewards on your 30th Trials card that you wanted to keep over loot that you got on your first several cards. And we didn't have that in D2. In D2, once you got your loot, there's no point in playing it anymore. You weren't going to get anything out of it that was new, exciting, or unique. So once you had your loot, you had your loot. You had everything you needed. There was no real point in going back in and grinding for anything. So that's really what I think we need out of a PvP experience right now. We need a regularly updating loot grind that's unique, has real value when it comes to maximizing the output of your stat values and builds. We need weapons to chase with good perk pools that are actually good in PvP. I mean, listen, Iron Banner has not ticked that box for me. Sure, when Banner comes around, you know, you might see videos on YouTube about how good this weapon is and that one is. But here's the truth. I mean, those weapons get sidelined by the people making those videos almost instantly. As soon as that video gets published, that thing goes into the vault and they go back to whatever generally works for them. I mean, Claws of the Wolf isn't terrible, but Horror's Leash is better in most every stat category. Outlast is better too. Criminal's Dagger is a 110 hand cannon. I don't think I need to say any more about that. D1 had like Finale's Peril, you know, which was a fantastic hand cannon. We had Effort Eats Spear instead of Bite of the Fox. We had freaking Falwinter's Lie, which was just a nutty shotgun. But, you know, Bite of the Fox is decent, but it can't hold a candle to the better performing snipers out there right now. Wizened Rebuke is about the only good weapon in the perk pool right now, and people hate it. We need Trials to come back with excellent loot to grind for in terms of both weapons and armor. The second thing that Trials had in D1 was a compelling and enjoyable playing experience. I mean, people will play activities for loot, but that doesn't mean the activity is fun. But Trials had both. Because of the boon system and the way matchmaking was done, we were able to really enjoy the experience. I didn't mean that we were always going flawless, didn't mean that we won every match, didn't mean that we had, you know, cards that we had to scuff over and over and over again. But it did mean that our cards felt really involved. Like, we didn't just coast through them. We were leaning forward in our seats, making call-outs, making teams, and making friends that, you know, sometimes spilled over into other playlists or even into our real-life relationships. I mean, there was an entire culture around Trials, and that's why we loved it. So I think that Destiny 2 PvP is desperately in need of a Trials experience. I mean, they tried to reinvent the wheel with Trials of the Nine, and it was a major flop for obvious reasons. They changed just about everything about Trials. And ever since it left, we've really struggled to have a meaningful Crucible culture in Destiny 2. And I think that we need it now more than ever. And I'm personally so very ready for it. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing it. I'm looking forward to using fun loadouts for challenge runs. I'm looking forward to helping supporters of mine get to the lighthouse and getting to know more about them, how they play along the way. It's some of my best memories in Destiny 1 were Trials passages that I played in D1 with various people. You know, I had my Fridays for, you know, a couple of years was me, Manny, and Hovey. We had a standing day every Friday at reset. We'd show up together, we'd play some Trials cards, we'd knock it out on all of our characters, we'd laugh, shoot some stuff, and have fun. And every now and then we'd match up some really good players and had some great showdowns, great matchups, and it was an absolute riot. Yeah, for a couple of years I did Trials help. And I did it with people in my community, and I got to know them better, and they're people who stuck around because they felt invested in, they felt valued, because we took the time to play with them and get to know them. And we didn't call them carries either. We just called them viewer raffles, you know. You're in our community, we appreciate you, we'll do a raffle, you get to play a card with us. We didn't talk down on them or make them feel like they were a burden that we were trying to carry through, you know what I'm saying? We didn't call them carries. We just had fun playing with people and meeting people, and I freaking loved it. So feel free to offer your thoughts on the topic in the comment section below. Thank you so very much for watching the video and supporting my content. You guys mean the world to me, and you make my dream a reality. So I hope to catch you in the Crucible.